Issue 2. Sonic runs around in Green Hill Zone, bored already, and then a sentient little rabbit asks Sonic in fear not to hurt him. So does he honestly not know who Sonic is? Because why would he ever think he'd hurt him? Sonic responds to that disturbing reaction by telling him to get a grip, since he's uncomfortable and lashing out because of the pity. And he says he's got something for Tails. He's called Mister, so he really can't know who he is. And he tells him that not only is Tails not here, but nobody is. The rabbit explains that everyone in Green Hill was kidnapped, except him for some weird reason. I guess he was really good at hiding since he's so small. Sonic, calling him a kid, tells him to take it easy and says, "Stand well back." That's a weird line. He says that he's trying out new power grip trainers as he holds his shoes, and he lampshades that the rabbit must be new here for not knowing his name as he puts sunglasses on like he's Scourge the Hedgehog. So he thinks the sunglasses are cool too. This is a less nice Sonic, so it makes sense. We see that the Badniks in this comic inexplicably talk too, and they're programmed to think of the animals as awful creatures, which explains why they'd want to inconvenience them. One of them says that they've got an idea to kill what he thinks is simply one of the other animals, when you think the Badniks would be strictly programmed to just try to look for animals and keep them alive to be used as batteries. How they'd work as batteries when it'd require more energy to keep them alive, I'll never know. And they're never gonna explain this, but whatever. It's gotta be exactly like the games. Also, why are they bothering to use Badniks if they're gonna be a boring generic gray color scheme sometimes anyways? For some reason, the Badniks are surprised that Sonic is back, and he destroys the Badniks as he says that he's back with a bad attitude, as if he hasn't had one all along. One of the freed animals shows self-awareness by saying he's cute and cuddly again, implying that 1, he has a history of manipulating people with his cuteness, since he's well aware of it, and 2, from the perspectives of the people put in robots, they literally become those robots consciousness-wise, since he's not just saying that he's free. Anyway, surprisingly, in the second issue, when we first meet Tails, we see that he's been legionized to be against Sonic, as half of his face is made of metal, except for the eye, when you'd think a cyborg eye would be helpful to Eggman's cause. And he's got metal limbs and some metal pointlessly around the edges of his tails. This is pretty impressive, making Eggman a real threat right off the bat. I'd never expect the comic to have the guts to have Tails be roboticized when the Archie comic never did that. And I didn't expect legionization to be used here, especially so early. So far, the comic seems so insistent on ripping off all its materials from the games that I was expecting Eggman to just put people in Badniks, never actually legionizing them. And I guess this Eggman is too incompetent to roboticize people outright and just makes them cyborgs like the Deadly Six tried with Tails instead. Also, this comic's already better than Lost World, because here the concept of Tails being legionized against Sonic actually happens. The legionized Tails attacks Sonic, while fortunately saying that he's using the supersonic spin, because I couldn't tell from seeing him in the art. Then he says that he always hated Sonic for thinking he was so smart playing the big hero while making him stay in Green Hill Zone. I wonder if being legionized brought some of his hidden resentment for him to the surface, because it makes sense that he'd be annoyed with him for this, underestimating his brother's usefulness when he can not only do the same robot smashing attack as him, but can also fly. But instead of Sonic responding appropriately to what Tails said, or the fact that he's clearly made of metal now, he just reminds Tails that he loves Green Hill Zone. I guess since he's a nature lover, but come on, what a wasted opportunity. He calls him out on the way he was always mistreating him, and that's his reaction. Then Sonic is caught off guard once again as he's hit by the wrecking ball head on, as Eggman tells him Tails joined his Badnik army. Badniks are clearly only the robots animals are trapped in, so that was stupid. And he's implying Tails joined him willingly, which would be stupid of him. Although kinda interesting. And apparently that's what I'm expected to believe, I guess, since Tails snaps out of it and stands up for Sonic as he's pathetically thrown around by the first boss of Sonic 1 some more. This is really stupid because you'd expect him to have lost all his free will. Why the fuck would Eggman bother legionizing if it doesn't remove a person's free will, and if there's no bomb implanted in them to force them to be obedient or else face death? But apparently seeing a reminder that Eggman's a megalomaniac who hates Sonic and animals is enough to snap Tails out of it and attack the Eggmobile. Also, in another bit of bullshit, all Tails has to do to return to normal is attack the Eggmobile, and apparently the metal was only surrounding the outside of his body, instead of his body literally being transformed into metal. And also that metal was ridiculously, idiotically, pathetically weak and fragile, since it just falls apart from Tails doing that attack. Why would Eggman even bother legionizing him, or what this comic's pathetic attempt at that was, if he should know that this is going to happen from him using the cheapest metals possible? I don't buy that Eggman's engineering skills would be this pathetic. This is reminding me of the second Alan Cal issue in Archie, where Tails snapped out of the brainwashing just from the power of friendship, even though he looked like he was legionized. And when I'm comparing this issue to such a terrible story, you know it's screwed up. I see that the comic barely handled it better than Lost World did, because Tails at least attacked Sonic once and really was brainwashed against him. But everything's back to normal condescendingly easily. Sonic compliments him on his attack, since I guess this was really the first time Tails ever mimicked his supersonic spin successfully. And he asks him if he's okay while one of his eyeballs is morphed to look close in a terrible art style choice making no sense. Tails says that he's just a little shaken because the exoskeleton took most of the blast. Sonic lampshades how brainless Tails was being, saying that he left him alone for 5 minutes and he ended up an evil robot. Tails just apologizes rather than at least trying to justify what he was doing by saying that he joined Eggman to become stronger with that exoskeleton. Eggman did say he joined his army, and he must have kept his free will to be able to defend Sonic. Sonic pulls out some ruined shoes while saying that it gave these new trainers a good workout. This is why it's so great that in Archie, Uncle Chuck was said to have specially made Sonic's shoes to justify why they wouldn't have been destroyed by his super speed friction. Here I have to wonder how Sonic has any shoes left at all if this is the consequences of his super speed. And here, Sonic says that he doesn't need special shoes when I just said he clearly does. He brags that the power in him is awesome enough. Says that he wants to get Tails home before he would get into any more trouble. This issue is by Mark Miller. Okay, I guess I can compliment the comic on how it's new that legionization would just make an exoskeleton that breaks off easily. But it's still absolutely idiotic that Eggman would make it like that, and that I'm expected to believe this. Tails clearly attacks Sonic, hating him. Way to make a good first impression on the audience there. And this proves that he has to be brainwashed. The only way he could be brainwashed is if 1. Eggman altered his brain, which would require putting chips or nanobots in it at best and roboticizing it at worst, or 2. To try to humor the comic, maybe he just hit him with a convenient brainwashing ray made from Chaos Emerald power. Okay, fine. It's just hard for me to buy this because even if Eggman in the comic was too incompetent to know how to roboticize or even legionize, when Eggman is always established to be able to make literally anything, even the exoskeleton idea falls apart because the exoskeleton falls apart. Ridiculously easily. You know, I could have easily forgiven the fact that Tails is just a bubbling moron for most of the comic if they at least stuck with the idea of him having the exoskeleton. That would make him badass. But no, we have to be exactly like the games. Fuck originality. I wonder how tight of a draconian grip Sega had on the Fleetway comic, because it reminds me so much of the reboot that it hurts, and that would certainly explain its similarity to the games. This just frustrates me. It's better than Lost World and that Tails at least got a hit in and was really brainwashed, but the way he snaps out of it so easily without continuing the fight is just stupid. What a wasted opportunity. They don't even try to explain why and how Tails was brainwashed if there's no permanent alteration to his brain and it was just an exoskeleton, which I'd expect, because that's a pretty gaping plot hole to end the story on. And maybe if comic space wasn't wasted on all those other non-Sonic stories, it could have explained this.